Think about this. I think, and I've said this a whole bunch of times, here's our stress response. This is balance here. When the body's in balance, what happens? When the body is in balance, healing happens. With anything, mind, body, spirit, emotions, when the body's in balance, not imbalanced, healing happens. This is out of balance, the fight or flight response. When the body is out of balance in the fight or flight response, breaking down happens. That's the easiest way of saying that. When we're in the stress response, the body is deliberately breaking stuff down at the cellular level. And so, if we can bring ourselves back to here, in whatever ways work, whether it's music or whatever, whatever we learned in the stress management class, then we get back into healing, and that may not mean it's going to reverse everything that was out of balance, but it tends to go in that direction, as opposed to the breaking down direction. And so, yeah, there was a really interesting study that they hooked people up to an electroencephalogram. What is that? What does an electroencephalogram measure? What's that? Yeah. So we have essentially 4 levels of what they call brainwave activity. And you can see those on electroencephalogram. It'll show the different levels, and it's kind of like, it looks like this. Beta. These are just the names that they've called these different levels of brainwave activity. Theta and delta, right? And if we look at a night of sleep, wouldn't that be nice to get 8 hours? A typical night of sleep, if we were hooked up, if you and I were hooked up to an electroencephalogram, it would look something like this. First 2 hours, like right now, if we were hooked up, all of us would be mostly, this would be the predominant one. All of these are happening all the time. There's just 1 or 2 that are predominant depending upon our current state of consciousness. And so, beta is awake and alert. High levels of beta increased levels of beta indicates you're at a higher stress level. And that's one marker that if beta is just going like crazy, that's usually an indication that you're not in a calm state. So in a typical night, it looks like this. It takes about 2 hours for the typical person to go from beta into alpha. And alpha is kind of that level that you see when you do relaxation exercises, when you do, you see hypnosis, when people who are under hypnosis, early levels of sleep. That's the alpha level. That's the predominant one when those kinds of things are going on. And then during sleep, REM sleep and not REM sleep, these 2 are the predominant ones. And when we're in these levels down here of theta and delta brainwave activity, that's when our body is really slowed down, and that's when the most healing happens. That's when we get our most restorative rest. If you go to sleep and you're highly stressed, it may not make it down here. You stay. You've ever awakened in the morning and you go, I don't feel any better? Because you were busy all night long. Or if you drink a lot before falling asleep, you don't get down in these levels. It might feel like it at first, but there's tons of studies. Drinking's not a good idea. Drinking a lot before falling asleep is not a good idea for this reason right here.